Welcome, Ultimate fans, to WIFDF 2018 World Ultimate Club Championships here on UltiWorld. I'm Keith Rayner, joined in the booth by Emmy Fitzgerald, and blessed to have her here for this excellent game, exciting matchup between two unlikely qualifiers and first-time qualifiers, Kisumu and UCT, both from the continent of Africa. We are already underway with a pull out of bounds. I think both of these teams are probably very excited, maybe a little disappointed when they saw it on the schedule. You know, we travel all the way to America. Many people probably for the first time, and we play another African team, but now probably excited to see some friendly faces.
The two teams did face off in an African Continental Championship held, but it's also great because then those watching can watch two African teams on the live stream at the same time.
And a deep throw right away from Kisubi and connected there. Excellent job by Omuseni to pull that down. And that is a quick hold for Kisumu to take a 1-0 lead.
Kisumu didn't wait any time, and Omuseni had so much patience looking for that huck. A much taller defender overhead, but she knew where that disc was going and stayed put. Nice jump to get the first point on the board.
So Kisumu scores first with the hold. The Kenyan team locked up the first win for an African team at the World Club Championships yesterday, and I think that UCT was excited by the idea of their compatriots experiencing success, and probably a source of hope for them.
Definitely encouraging to see that, and watching that Kisumu game on day one, they worked together with the pickups as well as the Kenyan nationals playing together. It wasn't by far carried by those picking up. These Kenyan players are fast, they have really good fundamentals, and great verticals also.
Both teams adding a couple players to fill out small rosters. This tournament is long and grueling, and the extra bodies are very valuable. And it can be tough and expensive to get players here from the continent of Africa. UCT, essentially a combination of University of Cape Town current players and alums. This swinging around against the zone defense from Kisumu. Cross-field throw from Fern Beetle Moorcroft. Back to Peter Ivey. Swinging around against the four-person cup. Peter Ivey and James Ivey working together now. Penetrating through the cup. Now a bit of a fast break, almost taken away, but into the red zone. Ivey to Ivey for the score.
Great patience from Flying Tigers. They were working it with that give and go on that near sideline, and then when the defender was trying to come in and swat that away, that opens up additional space underneath, especially with Kisumu staying in the zone all the way down the full length of the field.
Nice job by Shamanique Root, who collected that throw past the front cup and then kept the disc moving quickly to help gain the yardage that took the Ivies into the end zone for the score. So all even, 1-1 between the two African squads. The Kenyans set to receive the pull.
In 2014, the country adopted the 4-3-3-4 ratio out of 5-2. So in the past 4 years, they've really been working a lot together to increase. You play differently when that gender ratio changes on the field. Certainly more equitable that way.
Yeah, I imagine that there aren't a lot of opportunities to play consistently with 4 women on the field, and that's probably been an adjustment at this tournament for these squads. But another thing that the pickups can kind of help you navigate is a little bit of that experience. So pull out the back, and Kisumu will walk it up to the brick mark. Bit of a windy period here during the third round of the day. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday on the stream, Emmy, is that there's a balance between the wind cooling you off because it is scorching hot when the wind is still. But you don't want it to be so strong that it really negatively impacts the quality of play.
And it's been inconsistent as well. Little bobble of a drop there.
Yeah, the wind perhaps forcing that throw to wriggle around in the hands of the receiver. Now a golden opportunity for the Flying Tigers to get the first break. That one to the turf, so that chance will be wasted and back to the hands of Kisumu. Big hammer to open up some room. Kisubi resetting back, and now Michael McGurk, who's been the centerpiece of this offensive possession. Another cresting hammer past the cup. Alex Kruger resets. So both teams trying some zone here, and now Flying Tigers, their three-person cup, beginning to get pulled apart a bit. McGurk, another hanging throw, but this one with too much loft, knocked away by Connor Ilsley.
The defense was baiting that throw a little bit, and Jamil Kisubi has been a great receiver.
Deep throw, McGurk in coverage, forces the cutter to go up early, and Jotioli not able to get it.
Both teams showing that they like to throw deep, which is probably why they're putting up this zone look. Force a lot of passes.
McGurk with another hammer, but not a lot of real estate for the receiver. Gatti not able to bring that one in with the sideline encroaching.
It's like a little bit of discussion where the disc went out of bounds. Jarrett North asking for a little bit more and calls the timeout.
So North taking the timeout after a couple of turnovers for UCT. So the teams will take a break. We will do the same. We'll be right back with you after these quick advertiser words. Back as we are about to reinitiate play in this matchup between Kisumu and Flying Tigers. Flying Tigers with the disc, looking for a break. And Malika Anderson denies that throw upfield, nearly saved. But that effort is unsuccessful by Merrick Stevenson.
Such great heads-up play from Anderson and Kisubi to keep that disc alive.
Kruger with space to throw it over the top. And I think a foul call will protect possession. Seems to be an injury, however.
I think they need to pop North's shoulder back into socket. He's kind of holding it.
The Flying Tigers knew exactly who to call. Again, asking for Tuli Mayaba to come over to assist. And now everyone just waits.
We hope he's okay. I think the game observer just made a signal to call for medical attention.
Hopefully he's okay. I always hate to speculate in these situations. You know so little about what's happening out there, but have a top medical staff here. And makes you simultaneously nervous that you see them scooting around on carts because you know it means somewhere someone's hurt, but it's also comforting knowing that medical attention never far away despite the size and scope of this event.
Very large field complex as well, but it was really neat to see with this tournament the Cincinnati Ultimate Players Association combined, had a joint partnership with Oshadega, another Ohio, mostly out of Columbus, Ultimate Association, throws a lot of tournaments. They joined to host this WUCC together, and you can really tell because both are just so great at putting on tournaments.
It's very fitting because it feels like this tournament is all about collaboration, and you see the host country's national organization, in this case the USA Ultimate, working with the international organization, WIFDIF, and you see teams working together as they shuttle north off the field, perhaps to receive additional medical attention. He doesn't look like he's in too much concern, so that makes me feel a little better.
It may be something that has happened before. I don't know if that's good or bad, but if we hear any official reports, we'll be sure to report back.
So now, unfortunately, North's exit means that he's not here to be able to discuss the call, so a bit of a complex situation now ahead of us. Fortunately, these two teams know each other a little bit, and maybe that'll make it easier to navigate.
It did seem like at first there was a foul call.
So it looks like the disc will go to Kisubi. So now back underway, picking up right where we left off with this three-person cup, and McGurk throwing over the top.
I love these blades and hammers from McGurk.
The wind dying down a little bit, making these throws a bit more appealing as a way to try and free up the disc from the three players surrounding it. And now an opportunity to flow through the cup. Jump in unsuccessful by Kruger.
That standing long jump distance could be a little more, but she still gets it.
Just I don't even want to call that a give and go because she didn't even really go. It's more just a give and stay there and get it right back for the score. So she takes that extra inch she needs, and Kruger gets it back from Kisubi for the hold.
And Kisubi was really the go-to to help shred this zone from the Kisumu side. You would get some swings from the handlers, and then there's Jamil Kisubi, a tall receiver with good hands.
Yeah, again, another opportunity to see how Kisumu excels at attacking downfield. When you have the three players surrounding the disc, if you can get past that initial wall, suddenly the offense holds the advantage that they can press, and Kisumu's been adept at attacking that and keeping the defense off balance once they get past that first layer of the zone.
This is the second time both of these teams have been on live streams. Great to see all the various continents represented.
And a great opportunity for their supporters at home to cheer them on and watch them, and as they basically are on an ultimate adventure, so to speak, as so many teams here are. Flying Tigers offense initiating out of the horizontal stack. Ivy brothers operating from the middle of the field. Tracked down by Peter and up ahead to James. Oliver Goosen up the line and now swings it. James floats ones out to Peter. Flying Tigers approaching the red zone, still in their horizontal stack set, but now transitioning into a vertical.
Just enough float.
Beetle Moorcroft leading James out to the break side, and he drops it off for Dylan Gifford. And that's an efficient hold for the Tigers to make it 2-2.
There's a lot of patience from the Tigers side, just really working it up underneath, even with that floating disc. Looked like an opportunity to get a block. Not there. So that really puts that onus on the Kisumu club to force some turnovers, get a little hungry.
Yeah, they attacked that disc, but not with enough fervor. James Ivy able to haul it in and then continue on for the score.
We were talking about Mike McGurk kind of being the captain of this team. He lived in Kenya, helped develop the program that was already there, but he also was very particular in who he asked to pick up with this team, knowing that most of these Kenyans are Muslim from a religious perspective. They don't drink alcohol, and sometimes alcohol can be a big cultural part of Ultimate. So he chose people that he knew would fit in well to have the best experience for the Kenyans who've made such a long trip to be here.
McGurk, an Oakland native, but a key figure for this Kisumu team. Now he is holding and swinging across the field. New poaching zone look from the Flying Tigers. Looking to pressure the Kisumu handlers into some difficult throws, and there that long one brought in just in time, and we've seen how Kisumu can attack once they get away from the mark and company.
Just broke open and gained yards very quickly, but then had the foresight not to continue on, get it reset in the handlers to get back and controlled.
McGurk swinging. Josephat Ntaya. McPherson now. He gives it back to McGurk, who looks to settle the offense. And now back to Ntaya. Looking to wear down these handler defenders with fakes and short throws. But the wind's starting to pick up, and that could make these short throws even more risky. Kisubi, cross field, McGurk with lots of room.
Wind picked up quite a bit just as Kisumu got to the end zone.
They're the mistake that the Flying Tigers were waiting for. The wind making those types of throws even more challenging.
It's the right look, but the wind, given the wind, just much tougher execution.
Graham Gerhardt getting things started for the Flying Tigers, trapped on the sideline. Out to space for Luis Book. And now Book looking for a reset. but rushes it, and that'll head out of bounds and give the disc back to Kisumu with favorable position.
Those swings across the field are tough, especially as the wind picks up. You have to kind of cut through the wind, change your release point a little bit. Taya
unmarked, and now nowhere to go with it, however. So forced to go backwards to McGurk. And there's some contact downfield, a player down for Kisumu. Rachel Gitti. Looks like she's trying to see if she can stay on.
It's a long tournament that really wears on your body, even though there are 2 rounds a day. It's for a lot of days.
McGurk up ahead to Louisa McGurk, his wife. She resets back to Michael, and now Kasubi. Looks like a little bit of momentum for Kisumu, and they toss it into the end zone, and McGurk pulls it down amidst a few defenders from the Flying Tigers for the score.
I love that high release backhand from Kisubi. McGurk kind of motioned that's where he wanted it to go. And I say high release, but he's pretty tall anyway, so that might be fairly standard release for him. Goes over the top. McGurk can get right there to it.
Well, one thing it seems like Kisubi can do very well is generate a lot of snap without having to take a big motion. And that's especially helpful in these breezy conditions. The more torque applied to that disc, the more spin it's got, the less likely it is to be influenced by the effects of the wind. So all holds through the first 5 points between these 2 African teams in their first World Ultimate Club Championships.
Really eager to get that first break.
So now Flying Tigers receiving. Trying to get the offense moving and match defense from Kisumu. Beautiful break throw up the sideline from Peter Ivey. Now swung it to the middle. Red zone possession here. James Ivey with the disc as play stops. Looks like Flying Tigers in the midst of a transition towards their vertical stack. So James with the disc. Curling cut there by Goosen. Now just a step away from the end zone. Resets back to Beetle Moorcroft. Cross-field opportunity there for Peter Ivey, but can't keep it high enough to give Tuli Mayaba a shot at it, but she gets a shot of her own with the hand block.
What a hand block from Mayaba.
I mean, it almost
and
like
keeps it within scoring position for UCT.
Now James Ivey in the center of the field. Back to Peter. And the 2 Ivies and Goosen have been absorbing the majority of the touches for this offense. The 3 handlers trying to maintain possession as they look for a free cutter. Now 1 to space, looking for Beetle Moorcroft, but not enough field for her to get the score.
Might be a casualty of the wind, although the angle looked good on the throw.
So now another opportunity for Kisumu to try and get the game's first break, but it goes over the head of the intended target, Omuseni. Just a rush throw by Sharon Yee. Foul called by Goosen on the mark.
I got Joe just gave up.
A little confusion about when play is restarted, but now they figured it out.
Nice mark from Oswe, preventing that break.
Bergen Masson able to haul in the swing. High release from James Ivey. Catches a little bit of wind in a defender's hand. Now the deep throw. Players trying to line it up, and what a grab by Clement Masakwe. And into the end zone he goes for the Kisumu break.
Masakwe, so much power. Grabs that out of nowhere. So much. You could hear the UCT defenders on the sideline trying to kind of help where that defense needed to go.
And Masakwe just sizing this one up and then going over the top of the defense. And then the little dish into the end zone from Michelle Oswe. And it looks like that will send us into a timeout. First break of the game for Kisumu gives them a 4-2 lead.
And a long point, so it makes sense that the teams would want to take a timeout there. That's big for Kisumu, though, after such a long point where the disc was really staying on the other side of the field to be able to complete a huck and then that continue right away.
Such a long journey here for these two teams. I mean, this Flying Tigers squad really didn't even think they were going to get to go to Worlds. They thought they had qualified through playing in African Continental Championships, but we're told by WIFDF that they had not earned a spot. And only later did they learn that they would be given the opportunity to compete, which required a tremendous fundraising effort. Kisumu also had to undertake an intense fundraising effort, got a lot of local support, but needed to reach out to the community. It's a wonderful story, and we have some great writing by Graham Gearhart, one of the members of this Flying Tigers team, on ultiworld.com if you want to check out more about the two teams and the challenges they faced in getting here to Lebanon, just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio.
Gerhardt did do a great job in his reporting, and it's just no question, no denying the impact that sports have on communities as a whole. And then we're certainly biased towards our sport of ultimate, but the integrity and then the confidence that it instills really can help transform communities. That's why you have organizations really kind of spreading the sport all across the globe. But then to be able to take this international experience and bring it back helps sustain that growth for many years to come. And maybe, do you think one day we could have a WUCC in Africa?
It's possible. We have a long way to go to get there, but it's not out of the question and would be a wonderful thing in the future. One of my favorite things about that story was that Ultimate was, for some of these players, the first time they ever left their town. Not just the country to come here to Ohio. There's still some ensuing discussion on this point about whether we should be playing it or whether there's an offsides. So we'll have an awkward stoppage as they sort it out. But as I was saying, for a number of these players, the first time they had ever left their city or their town was to travel for Ultimate. And to me, that's a very cool thing to be able to look forward to and to look at your sport and say, like, this is something that is helping people experience completely new things.
And Ultimate is such a low startup program sport, really, to have. It doesn't require a lot of equipment. We've seen it played on grass, on dirt, on sand, on some combination of those. Looks like that they've asked for a repull.
So any subsequent ones, they will have to take a timeout. They'll be penalized with a timeout.
I think Linda Kubo explaining the offsides call.
That's okay.
So we will run it back. And another quality pull here from Kisumu. Zubair Abdullah sending that one up, but now the Flying Tigers on the attack once more.
This junk zone is really looking to prevent big throws into the lane, prevent the huck, much like what Kisumu just did on their offensive possession.
Here is the huck, tracking the disc. Kisumu just enough interference to keep that one from landing in the hands of Grace Roth.
Jordan Queckburner was there, even though he didn't get a hand on the disc.
Oh yeah, without his presence, that seems like an easy score. So even though he didn't get the block, did have an impact, but there, the throw away from Queckburner. Roth, pickup for this team, plays with Kansas City Wicked. James Ivey with the disc in the middle of the field, where we've seen so much of his impact coming from, but a stoppage downfield as there's a foul away from the disc. Looks like there's a contested foul, so stall count will not drop to 0, and Ivey getting ready to bring the disc in. Ivey high release break, a little bit behind his receiver. And the Flying Tigers continuing to struggle in the red zone, just finishing off those possessions.
His far sideline too, the disc goes high, but it looks like Esther Omuseni, she caught it. Whether she caught it in bounds or not, I think is still up for discussion.
Yeah, high throw there from Abdullah.
You can't really see the line. Yeah.
Not even the intended target, but Omuseni with the awareness to try and track that down. But a player down for, as we see, again, the leaping attempt. Kind of a rough landing for Kavita Gatti. And Gatti will limp off. Hopefully just temporary. So substitutions, I believe, for both sides.
So you can decide on what you want to do for that. Correct. The rules are that if you are on the line, it is out. You can choose. Sorry?
My feet were in, but I fell outside after possession.
So my perspective was that your feet landed on the line and the line is out of bounds. That's all. So you can choose to contest and send it back. All right, so where you guys were? On the pole. So on the throw, you guys can just agree to be and where you are and set up.
So you hear the discussion there about the outcome of the call, and the advisor gives their opinion, but the players are not bound by that, and they opt for a do-over, so the disc will go back to the hands of Abdullah. Abdullah immediately launching one, but into coverage, so Roth intercepts, and the Flying Tigers are back on offense. Roth moving the disc up ahead, and now James Ivey to Beetle Moorcroft, and she dishes it over to Roth into coverage though. And that's going to be a registered block. Emily Verheyen getting the disc.
So much intensity from both teams really fighting for what's turning into a long point.
Deep shot again from Abdullah. He's an aggressive thrower, but look at the help defense. Excellent grab despite it from Quickborner. And he takes the red zone timeout, sensing an important opportunity for Kisumu's offense.
I think that was a good timeout call. They seem to be outnumbered a little bit with defenders. And knowing that the wind's picking up, you really want to have your handler core there to be able to reset.
This is a controversial timeout, I find, among the talking heads and thinkers of the game in Ultimate, the kind of the fast break timeout. Do you take the timeout right after the huck? I would say the offense typically has the advantage, but the player with the disc is probably going to have the best knowledge of whether or not they have the advantage. Sometimes you're just made a great layout catch or a huge sprint and you're feeling really tired. You're not confident you're going to make a quality throw. It's probably worth it to take the timeout there. Sometimes you don't see something upfield you think is going to result in a quality opportunity for you, and you have to take the timeout. So I think it's going to vary based on context. However, there are a lot of people who find that timeout a strategically disadvantageous one.
I agree. I find myself in both camps as well. On one hand, yes, if he's tired, the thrower really knows. But from a coaching side, you want to use those timeouts to take it to half, ultimate point, to set up some kind of strategic play. And really, it's on the onus then of the offense to hustle down there so that there is some kind of dishing opportunity to get.
I've been actually surprised by the frequency of timeouts that we've seen at this tournament. I find that timeouts typically, at least in North American play, are underutilized. Charlie Eisner and I on the Deep Look podcast, LT World Does, have discussed seeing timeouts have added value as their Quickborner delivers one over to Abdullah for a score, and the after timeout play is effective. Another break for Kisumu to put them up 5-2, a very hard-fought 3-goal lead.
So it turns out it did work for Kisumu to get the timeout there. Perhaps there was a look that they wouldn't have already. But I agree. You know, we were talking about this at the Pro Elite Challenge in Denver recently, that there are some coaches that give teams unlimited timeouts in practice just to force them to really get in the habit of using it. Then it's up to the sideline and the coaching staff in a game to manage the number of them. But most teams go a full half without using that, and that's extra time that you can really have to strategize and save your legs.
Absolutely. I think many timeouts go unused, and one of the suggestions that we had was for substitutions to be allowed during timeouts. I'm a fan of one substitution. Charlie was a fan of full sevens.
I love the line sub.
The thing is, you can't have anything in between because that's too much tracking. You know, who's going to know whether or not you put 4 people on or sub, you know, it's
those
confusing.
Poor statisticians if
Right.
you did it half and half. But I love the strategy of calling a timeout, and then you can put your full O-line on, or if it's a turn, you put your defense on to try and get it back.
So, offense back underway. Flying Tigers looking for a hold. Giving up a couple in a row, but all hard fought. Easily the score could be very different. But the wind picking up and the Flying Tigers forced to go up towards it. There, the receiver getting up to make that catch. Gavin Ruddle. You can hear the wind whipping behind us as Gerhardt catches it as there's a pick. So Goosen with the disc, and this is the strongest wind I think I felt all weekend outside of a rain shower after play in the afternoon yesterday.
Hopefully that is not a sign of things to come.
Absolutely. Now the disc across. Ivy looking deep. It's a jump ball situation. Takes 2 tries, but eventually knocked down by Omuseni.
And it looked like on that second attempt it might be able to be caught, but Omusemi batting that smartly to the ground.
McGurk around break. And Nataya over to McGurk. Lisa looking for a reset. Gets over to Oswe. Now back to Michael McGurk. Lots of room for this Kisumu offense. You see a huge swath of field in the middle. Nice job by Omuseni to recognize that space and capture some yardage. Oswe. Into the middle for Nyantaya. Lots of throws directly up the middle here for Kisumu. The Kenyan team looking to finish off the possession, and McGurk to McGurk. Husband-wife connection for another break. They're pouring it on at this point.
So much great flow and really good undercuts from Kisumu. They're able to get separation from their defenders. And that inside flick, sometimes with wind, can just be a little bit dicey. But McGurk, a veteran thrower, and then his receiver is his wife, Louisa, able to convert.
Louisa McGurk, a graduate of the well-known Parea High School. However, not a product of their ultimate system. Perhaps osmosis giving McGurk some of the skills that have been earned by the Parea community, but not really picking up ultimate until after her time at Parea.
Between being at Parea and then living in the Bay Area, which is another big ultimate community, she was bound to find the sport somehow, someday.
And then she helps export it to Kenya. But you mentioned a key word, I think, that's separated these two teams in this game, and it is separation. The ability of these Kenyan players to find room to catch the disc and perhaps have unmarked continue throws or gain more yardage. Their defense has been able to stay tight with these Flying Tigers players in many cases.
That just makes you have to throw into much tighter spaces.
Masson in the red zone looking for a reset. Finds Peter Ivey. Peter up ahead to Avalon Igawa. And a grinding cut from Masson. Fights through the contact to get to that front cone for a Flying Tigers hold. That will make it 6-3.
Flying Tigers using a lot of patience, and then what are just really good offensive fundamentals to get open, throw it to the most open player available. There were a couple kind of run-through block opportunities for Kisumu, but great hands from Flying Tigers.
So the Flying Tigers end the 4-goal run. Kisumu has been on. Now we'll have to go through the difficult challenges of trying to fight their way back into this one, facing both stiff competition and a stiff breeze as they are getting set to pull upwind.
When the game started, it seemed like it might be a contest of the end zone on the left side of the screen, but both teams working well both ways. We'll just see the effect that the wind has on their throws getting to their players.
You know that UCT really wants this one as they send this pull almost into our crow's nest. But for the Flying Tigers, this could be their first international win in program history, I guess, or intercontinental
win. Yes.
Kisubi brings in the disc on the sideline and uses that snappy backhand to get it off. There's a pick call that will stop play. So Kisubi brings it in. Pushes the disc ahead to McPheron. Great juke there by Kisubi. And now McPheron gets it up ahead and dishes it to Anderson for a quick hold.
I love Kisumu's use of the inside lane with the backhands to get those scores. The backhand is going to be more steady in this kind of wind. They've already shown that they can use a lot of spin to get there, and they just thread through really small areas to get their 7th point.
And I think Flying Tigers perhaps forcing backhand, hoping to push the Kisumu offense to the low side of the field, that far sideline where it would be really hard to get the disc off. But Kisumu did an excellent job of attacking through the middle and using that snappy, powerful throw to push up field. So Kisumu 1 goal away from pushing us to the halftime. 7-3 lead over the Flying Tigers from Cape Town. The wind at its strongest.
So much, I just saw a tent blow over a couple fields away.
Our tent is lashed to our platform.
Good job.
I have nearly been decapitated by tents at tournaments while broadcasting before it. Deep throw here. James Ivey has a couple of targets, and Peter's the one who gets to it first. So Ivey to Ivey yet again. And a 2-3 throw hold is probably exactly what the Flying Tigers were looking for.
That throw, too, is exactly what they needed as well. The angle, you can see the defenders are behind the UCT players. So it really allows the receiver to run up onto the disc right in the breadbasket. And at that throw to Peter Ivey kind of allows him to block out his defender in the process.
Yeah, James Ivey using the wind a bit to power that disc past the cutters, letting them have the favorable position. But now it'll be Kisumu with the wind at their backs. The Flying Tigers who will be trying to throw into the face of it should they gain possession of the disc.
And if Kisumu scores here, they'll take it to half with a 4-point lead. But we haven't had very many points without any turnovers. But we've had some.
Yes, these last 3 have come without a turnover, but prior to that, both teams had struggled to get clean one-possession holds. Disc up ahead to McPheron. Now Louisa McGurk. Back to Kisubi, and you can see the Flying Tigers have adjusted back to the forehand force, perhaps ruining switching to the backhand. And a pick call downfield stops play.
There is a Kisumu player down on the ground, but she motioned off. She will not take an injury sub.
Alba Lopez back up and staying on. Lovely inside break from Kisubi to get away from that sideline, but the continued throw by Verheyen is just a little bit wide.
So this will be one of the longer points.
Well, suddenly the wind is quieted, and a really ideal opportunity for UCT to try and go upwind to get a break. No undercutters there, but finally Merrick Stevenson recognizes the opportunity, but his throw pops into the air and over the head of his target. So Verwan back, and now Kasubi with the deep throw, and perfect touch from Kasubi to take us to half. Hits Masakwe in stride with a lovely throw.
And we've already seen Kasubi's calm presence as a handler, as well as Masakwe's prowess as a receiver. And as soon as Kasubi kind of started to wind up, Masakwe knew exactly what he wanted. Just perfect timing into the end zone.
Jamil Kasubi having a heck of a half in a blinder here with a 4-assist first half, and that will take us into the break. Kisumu with a 8-4 lead over the Flying Tigers. Teams will be gone for about 10 minutes, as will we. We will join you for the second half after that. Welcome back, Ultimate fans, to Ultiworld's live coverage of WIFDIF 2018 World Ultimate Club Championships. Keith Rayner, joined by Emmy Fitzgerald for the second half of the All-Africa matchup in the mixed division. Kisumu out of Kenya, who will be pulling to Flying Tigers out of South Africa, the University of Cape Town group. Kisumu with an 8-4 lead as Peter Ivey and Oliver Goosen get things started. Zone offense from Kisumu, or zone defense rather. Beetle Moorcroft toes the line. In a first half where, after some trading, Kisumu took control of the game with a 3-break run, Emmy.
It started trading points, and then Kisumu just went on that run, but Ultimate, definitely a game of runs. Flying Tigers hoping, I'm sure, that their run starts now. So far, showing some good patience with their zone offense.
Now the swing out to Igawa. James Ivey tries to muscle one through the middle of the field, but it hangs. Beetle Moorcroft, however, lines up that flight path exactly and sprints to the spot for the save.
Good read from Beetle Moorcroft. Keep it alive.
And the Ivies and Goosen, who have been in the center of this Flying Tigers offense, march the disc into the end zone.
And the handler patience was so crucial there, but really it was Beetle Moorcroft who should get the gold star for that point. There were so many players in traffic as that she was not the intended receiver for that throw. It hung for a while, and then she had enough patience to get it back to a handler so they could score.
Yeah, Beetle Moorcroft saving the team from 2 separate turnovers on that point. The toe in early in the possession on the swing, and then able to connect on that one despite being an unintended receiver.
And that's what happens as the wind starts to pick up. Everyone could be a potential receiver, offense or defense, anytime the disc is released. You never know exactly what trajectory it will take. The veteran players will know that and kind of move over to that side of the field anticipating it.
And you know, that's something I think is a weird intersection between controllables and uncontrollables, because I think a lot of teams think of that stuff as luck. You know, oh, who caught the floaty throw or whatnot. But I think to some level, you have control over how aware you're being, how you're attacking the disc. And Beetle Moorcroft not giving up on that disc, even though it wasn't thrown to her, follows the play and is aware enough to create her own luck.
You give that ultimate IQ, just like McGurk knew exactly where he wanted to place that blade.
He has shown he is adept with those sharp over-the-top throws. But the downfield defense of the UCT zone was doing a nice job denying, but now cracked open. But a rushed cross-field throw hangs up in the wind, and Kisubi gives the disc to the Flying Tigers and a chance to break.
A leading throw that was a great decision, but a casualty of the wind. McGurk tall, but not quite tall enough.
So Ilsley will bring in the disc. Center to Gerhardt. Gerhardt looking for options. Forced to go backwards to Ilsley, but he finds a big gainer up the field to Stevenson. Nice job there from Masson to get open deep, but Stevenson not able to find enough room to throw it to him. Gerhardt takes it now ahead to Stevenson again. Gerhardt just lifting one over his mark, but not over the downfield defender. Gerhardt with a critical error that's not befitting of a player of his stature, but really just a terrible throw.
I see what he was trying to do there. It was a little bit better than terrible.
I'm simply ribbing my own pal here, and I look forward to giving him the timestamp of this moment. So jokes aside, Kisumu's offense is trying to go across the field, but intercepted in an excellent defensive play there by Masson. And the ensuing score is a break for the Flying Tigers.
A crucial break for the Flying Tigers, not only so they can get a point on the board, obviously, but also for just to add to kind of the cheeriness of the team and get them revved up and fired up. A lot of times it's a run through D or it's a really cool sky, and then sometimes it comes in the form of a break and you get a point to go along with it.
Masson showing great anticipation and attacking the disc in the air. And to me, zone, both on offense and defense, is all about anticipation. It's all about being a step ahead mentally and preparing yourself for the next throw, not the one that's happening now, but what's going to happen after this one. So nice job there for the defense, and Masson shows off her anticipation skills. So the first break for the Flying Tigers brings the margin to 2 as they chase Kisumu in this African matchup.
Amazingly, the wind died down just for a second for the pole to go off.
You ever been on the line and you're getting ready to throw the upwind pull and you just wait it out?
Yes.
Hoping to get that moment and you're like, up, there's the wind, we're pulling right out. There's an unmarked McGurk, a dangerous proposition. Goes up ahead to Queckborner.
Looked like some confusion on who was matching on whom.
And McGurk, I think, looking to another unmarked McGurk, but instead, it's Queckborner who catches a just emphatic hammer that came down like a meteor into the back of the end zone.
I'll be honest, I did not think that hammer had any chance of staying in bounds, and it was close to that back cone. But great placement and great read from Queckborner.
I don't know whether McGurk was throwing to Queckborner or McGurk, but we'll probably never know. If I were him, I wouldn't say. But
when you're the thrower, whoever caught it, that of course that was your intended thrower.
And if nobody caught it, where were you guys?
Exactly. The traits of a veteran thrower.
You're not a real handler until you blame every turnover on the cutter.
I'm sure everyone can think of a few people like that in their own lives.
So that will extend the lead back to 3. Kisumu with a 9-6 lead and back on defense. Offense is now going downwind, so an upwind break for either side would be a huge boon to their chances of victory in this one. Goosen fielding the pull up to Peter, and James Ivey isolated, but well defended, but then a rocketing deep shot. Unsuccessful. A nice run, but no dice for Igawa.
It was a good play call to isolate Igawa out into the deep space. And you could tell she put those afterburners on to get there, but that disc was just flying way too fast.
Too much pace on that one. So the Kisumu offense now trying to get that upwind break we just discussed would be so vital. Huge bid by Goosen, but disc escapes him. Offense working towards the break side, but forced switching.
Nice throw up the line.
Now another up the line throw, another bid from Goosen, but a better bid from the offense. What a grab for Kisumu to get that upwind break. Kyle McPheron hitting the dirt, finding pay dirt.
That disc dropped fast, but McPheron dropped faster to get a hand underneath. And what a play from several members of that Kisumu team to result in that score.
Goosen giving everything he could on defense, but it wasn't quite enough after losing position there. An emphatic score that could be the difference maker in this one.
And upwind, no less.
So now the lead is 10-6, 4 goals between Kisumu and the University of Cape Town group. We will, at our next opportunity, get you a couple of updates from what's going on here in Lebanon at the Lebanon Sports Complex. That pull out the back of the end zone, aided by the wind. So now Peter Ivey will jog that one to the brick mark. This is basically only a jog when there are observers or game advisors nearby. All other times, this is a 30-second walk.
A little more haste.
James Ivey picks that one and then sends it with haste to the end zone. Big bid, but a turnover despite the efforts of Grace Roth.
Grace Roth got close to it. It was really a great layout from her on a tough throw to catch.
Roth, an impressive athlete. Got a couple of years of watching her at the University of Kansas. Now another deep shot, this time from Kisumu, but knocked away. Nice job by Tuli Mayaba. Mayaba able to get her second block of the game and give her offense a chance to get that hold.
And I was about to say this is dangerous territory for UCT. If they turn it over, Kisumu is very close to their scoring end zone, and here we are.
So Queckborner initiates with a quick throw to the open side, and it's the goal-scoring machine, Masakwe, so difficult to guard in space with all of that speed. Kisumu now up 11-6.
Masakwe knew exactly where he needed to go.
And Ivy with a very flat force on the mark there, not really helping the downfield out much. And you need all the help you can get when you're guarding a thoroughbred athlete like Masakwe. So as mentioned, I will get you a couple of score updates from the round of action currently going on, and we'll start in the mixed division. Banana Cutters out of Canada with a 12-8 lead over Disco Sour out of Chile. And the Black Eagles from Great Britain finished off Stall 7 from India 15-4. Also taking place now, Crash from Canada, 8-6 lead on Freak Show, Singaporean team. Haslik Erdfeckel out of Germany, defeating Dysterix right now, or on their way to, with an 11-5 lead over the Spanish unit. Eurosol with an 8-3 lead over Panthers Burn. That's Colombia leading Switzerland. Now a deep throw from Gerhardt, and as much as I gave him a hard time earlier, that was a excellently edged throw over the back of the stack from Gerhardt for the hold.
Gerhardt really earned it back right away. Nice step out on his backhand. Gavin Buttle in full stride.
A nice highlight to take home with him. So 11-7 now. And upwind breaks still incredibly valuable for this Flying Tigers team, because then you can try and turn that into 2 straight scores when your opposition has to go upwind. So you get 2 of those, and suddenly you're back in the game. You know, a pair of a pair.
A pair of a pair. There's still plenty of time to cap. And that's what's nice. You can earn the upwind to then get the downwind break opportunity.
Pull out of bounds there. No, we'll take it in on the sideline. Kisubi blades one into the middle, and there's just a jailbreak right now. Kisumu offenders vastly outnumbering the defense, and that makes it an easy score. Verwine with the score, taking that from Enyata.
Kisumu just keeping their defenders on their heels, rolling through that entire possession. And those scores, when you are able to be on the run, not hang on to the disc for very long like you see here. There's Verwine.
Well, Kisubi just breaking open the zone with that blade, and just so much room for him to throw it into that it didn't even really have to be particularly accurate. And that kind of cushion makes you a lot more confident when you wind up to throw a challenging one like that. So Kisubi, while held without an assist in the second half, just after a 4-assist first half, still making an impact on the field, if not on the stat sheet. So the pull back up. Fielded by Ivy, up ahead to Ivy. And don't even have to look, I could probably predict that that was going to happen. Now here's Peter Ivy, sailing one, looking for Goosen. Can he get there before running out of room? He cannot. Ivy having trouble calibrating those forehands on this wind.
And it does take some additional touch to put some float on that when you're going downwind. Some throwers will say it's actually more difficult to throw hucks going downwind than upwind, just because the wind is so strong and pushes it really fast.
And when you're upwind, you can just not. But when you're downwind, it's so tempting.
I could finally throw it far.
Now Kisumu giving it over to Abdullah. He's shown a propensity for throwing it far. But here just settles for a swing to Queckborner. Give and go. And now the most tempting target, but underthrown. So intercepted by Goosen. Wide open opportunity for a deep throw, and it is a impressive one from Beetle Moorcroft. Ivy, not a lot of room, so we'll reset to Goosen. And finally some space is cleared. Goosen goes into the end zone.
And Beetle Moorcroft recognized there a couple things with her huck, but what Ivy failed to do, she released her huck from a higher point, and then that was able, even as the disc is sailing, as it pushes the frisbee down, it's easier to catch. And she didn't have a mark because of some defensive confusion from the Kisumu side.
And it is incredible how much easier it is to throw deep when you're unmarked.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to watch all the games. Or not even watch it.
So Beetle Moorcroft muscling one to the end zone, just short after the interception by Goosen, and then Goosen with the assist. There you see that huck right to the goal line. And then Rubina Velodia finishing it off after some confusion around the cutting lanes. So not quite done yet, these Flying Tigers. Tigers not known for giving up on things, I don't think. Spent a summer working at a zoo, so I'm an expert on this sort of thing.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Now the Huck hanging, just gets over the head of the defender to McGurk. Sharon Yee getting that one right where it needs to be, and now tracking down a score from McGurk. That's a 80-yard give and go between Yee and McGurk.
Sharon Yee, currently living in Cleveland, played for Case Western Reserve University, and had just such great body positioning and track down, knowing that McGurk really likes a lot of angle on his throws.
That one nearly gets back to the defender as it starts to tail away from Yee, but she's able to finish the play with gusto. And a little bit of local Ohio flavor for the Kenyan offense. So 13-8. Odds of a comeback decreasing with each Kisumu hold.
But now the Flying Tigers are able to work in that downwind. So if they're able to control the power they put on their hucks, they have the potential to score quickly.
So the pull from Abdullah traces the sideline before falling out of bounds. So Peter Ivey will center. And of course, he'll look upfield to find an isolated James Ivey.
Imagine that.
Now they've seemed to use this almost as a decoy in a number of cases, and there that's...
It 100% was.
So now a huge gainer gets them almost to the end zone in 2 throws, and then Goosen just a little blade around Beetle Moorcroft, and that's just how the Flying Tigers drew it up.
What a great play, knowing that Ivy has been a go-to so far in the game. But Keith, you called it. You knew what was going to happen, and it happened.
My clairvoyance doing nothing to help Kisumu. And the decoy there opens it up for William Van Zyl. Comes underneath, throws some emphatic fakes to move the mark around, and Goosen finishes it off to Beetle Moorcroft.
So they did get that downwind break in a hurry, like they were hoping to do. But now the break comes upwind, which is significantly more difficult.
So if they want to have any hope, I mean, I think they probably need to get this upwind break here.
Especially from a time perspective, under 20 minutes to cap.
So, pull goes up from Connor Ilsley. Lands just to the right of our pristine Whiff Diff logo. And Michael McGurk with the disc. Sending it to Malika Anderson. And then dug out by Louisa McGurk. Kasubi holding the disc as a pick occurs.
Much at 7, but I come in at maximum 6, right?
Correct.
So coming in stalling 7.
Stalling 6.
So, a little fun with numbers there. Back to the action. McGurk and Kasubi working it side to side. Now into the middle for Kruger. Nice gainer to McGurk. Oh, but Kasubi.
Very rare handler miscue. We haven't seen that much from Kisumu today.
Well, Kisumu just not quite able to connect the hand and the eye. Misses that one. So Buttle with the disc calls a foul, and players will have to reorient themselves.
John Waitumbi is on the mark right now. He is 62 years old. I dare say the oldest person competing at WCC.
Yeah, I don't think you're going out on a long limb there. He said that his reason for playing Ultimate was to stay fit and roll back the clock.
Oh, me too, John, me too.
And McPherson with the double team and then the triple block. So they'll take the disc back from the Flying Tigers, who had a chance to get that vital upwind break. Deep shot going up, but well beyond the reach of the receiver. And there we see Waitumbi, who traveling with the Kisumu Frisbee Cub, playing for 4 years. Goes by the nickname Doc. But out here with the youngsters. Horizontal stack. Roth taking off up the line. 7 cut. Deflects off her hand twice. And now an opportunity for Kisumu to press their advantage, and they do. Elisa McGurk into the end zone for McPherson. Now they are just 1 point away.
Really taking advantage of those opportunities and using all the players on the field. You see John Waitumbi walking back on the field. He says that he grew up in a remote village in central Kenya. He used to walk barefoot to school. It didn't stop him from becoming an accomplished scientist. He says that he owes part of this success to the Peace Corps, who taught him science and math, and he thus takes great pride in giving his knowledge to young people.
It's going to sound like I'm saying this in jest, but that's actually inspirational.
It's phenomenally inspirational.
I'm sitting in the booth wondering, questioning, what have I done with my life?
John Waitumbi is a true example of determination and taking advantage of the resources, and even the fact that he's here at an international competition at age 62, going through those obstacles. He has a wife and 2 children. Just, it's amazing.
I mean, this is the kind of story that you really only get at a tournament like this. Flying Tigers trying to write a special story of their own with an incredible comeback. And here's another deep throw, this time from James Ivey to Peter Ivey. And now a question about whether or not Peter was able to bring that in bounds.
Now the line is out. From our angle here, it looked like he had a foot on the line.
See the huck hanging. Tough to tell.
I think the out call stands.
So now Kisumu working on a break to close this one out. Masakwe underneath. Resets back to Kwekborner. Vertical stack offense from Kisumu. The Kenyans are trying to find a lot of separation. Lopez in the middle to Kwekborner. Abdullah up ahead to Yi. Now Yi throwing one. It's hanging though, forcing a difficult catch, and Catch completed, but not within the constraints of the field. So disc back to the Flying Tigers. Now hanging up. And a turnover there by Goosen. And now Abdullah looking for Masakwe. Masakwe looking for the dunk in the air and can't quite time that one.
And Jumbi went up a little early, trying to high point that disc. Not quite, though.
So now another opportunity. Beetle Moorcroft with the disc. Goes over her mark to Goosen. You can see this big open space in the middle of the field that UCT's trying to utilize, but Goosen's throw intercepted by Yi. Yi in the middle to Masakwe. Queckborner with about 12 yards to go from a second win for Kisumu at the World Ultimate Club Championships. Yi takes it in. Now a well-edged throw in front of Queckborner, and that will do it. Kisumu not only achieving their first win in club history on the international stage, or the intercontinental stage, but their second as well with a win over the University of Cape Town Flying Tigers.
I love that air bounce from Yi at the end to lead Queckborner so well to end the game, but just saw a lot of composure across the board and just playmakers from this Kisumu team. They were solid and made the athletic plays when they needed to, had the handler patience when they needed to, even with UCT Flying Tigers taking advantage, especially of those downwind opportunities.
Yeah, just displaying the athleticism and the intensity necessary to not only make things harder for the UCT offense, but to capitalize when they had those opportunities, and looked like perhaps the more experienced team. So a nice job by Kisumu, who will move to 2-1 here at the World Ultimate Club Championships.
And bodes well also for UCT Flying Tigers, since they are a young team related to a college.
So UCT still in search of their first win. Kisumu gets their second, but many days of play ahead for both of these teams. That's going to finish it off here for UltiWorld's coverage of this mixed division round, but we have one more game to go today. Going over to the men's division, Juggernaut and Flying Angels burn, so tune in for that. We'll be back in about 25 minutes for that matchup. The final here, Kisumu 15, UCT Flying Tigers 9. For Emmy Fitzgerald, I'm Keith Rayner. See you shortly.